So please always have your audio muted and then turn on your video, please. Now I shall invite Bhante Nyanaramsi. When he's come, we will start by paying homage to the Triple Genes and then ask for 5 precepts together.
เลื่อนไปเดี๋ยวเลื่อนการไม่มาหนึ่งหน่อยก็มีเสียง
Then homage to the Triple Genes. Buddha, Buddha, Dhamma, Buddha, Sangha, Buddha. Now we going to asking for the 3 refuge and then ask for 5 precepts. Ahang Bhante Sangsara Vatta Tukhato Mojanathaya Tisaranena Saha Pancha Sila Dhamma Yajami Anugahang Katawa Silang Tetha Me Bhante Dutiyampi Ahang Bhante Sangsara Vatta Tukhato Mojanathaya Tisaranena Saha Pancha Silang Dhamma Yajami Anugahang Katawa Silang Tetha Me Bhante Tatiyampi Ahang Bhante Sangsara Vatta Tukhato Mojanathaya Tisaranena Saha Pancha Silang Dhamma Yajami Anugahang Katawa Silang Tetha Me Bhante
Ya Mahamodami Tamodeta
Ama Bhante
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa
Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi
Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi Sanghaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi Tutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi Tutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi Tutiyampi Sanghaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi
Sarana Gamanam Paripunam
Ama Bhante
Panati Pata Veramani.
ปานาธิปาตาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิอทินนาทานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิกาเมสุมิจฉาจาราเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิมุสาวาทาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิสุราเมรยะมัชฌัปปมาสถานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิอิมานิปัญจสิกขาปทานิสมาธิยามิอิมามิปัญจสิกขาปทานิสมาธิยามิอิมานิปัญจสิกขาปทานิสมาธิยามิ
Idame silam
อีทังเมสีลา
Maka pala yanasa
มัคคะพลายานัสสา
Pacayo
ปัจจโย
Hotu Apamadena Sampadeta
อามาทันเตสาธุสาธุสาธุ We shall begin our sections on Dhamma talk by Venerable Bhante Nyanaramsi.
A very good morning to all Metta meditators. I wish you have confidence in the practice of loving kindness meditation and able to gain all the benefits of Metta practice. This morning, I shall explain the systematic way of practicing loving kindness in accordance with the scriptures and the commentaries. So if one aspires to be successful in the practice of loving kindness, then one should remove the boundaries. One should be able to practice boundless loving kindness towards all beings. So this practice of loving kindness is also based on the well-known sutta, Karaniya Metta Sutta. Most of you are familiar with this chanting of Karaniya Metta Sutta. You might have heard it in certain occasions, such as during the Katina ceremonies and so on. So that sutta taught by the Buddha is about the practice of virtue, concentration. How does one develop concentration by the practice of metta? And then the last stanza of that sutta is about the practice of vipassana meditation. So I shall quote two of the stanzas which are relevant to the Dhamma discussions this morning. In Pali, Mata Yatha Niyam Putta Mayusa Eka Putta Manurake Ewan Pi Sabha Bhutesu Manasam Bhavaye Aparimanam Metancha Sabha Lokasmin manasam pavaye aparimanam udam adocha tiriyancha asampadam averam asapatam. The translations, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless loving kindness towards all beings. Let him radiate boundless loving kindness towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without anger, and without hostility. Unquote. So meditators have to practice boundless loving kindness towards all beings. Just like a mother would protect her only child with her life. If a loving kindness meditators practices loving kindness towards certain person, certain individuals, or certain group of beings, but leave out other persons or other beings, then the meditators is practicing metta with limit or with boundaries. But the Buddha taught in this discourse that we should practice boundless loving kindness towards all beings. So the boundary here it refers to the enemy of metta. So the enemy of metta, as explained in the last meaning, the enemy without, or in other words, the distant enemy of metta is dosa. And the enemy within, or in other words, the near enemy of metta is pema, or love with attachments, or love with affections, and so on. So how does one able to remove the boundaries? So to remove the boundaries, one should be able to practice loving kindness to every individuals, either the individuals or person whom you respect, whom you love dearly, or whom you dislike. So in just like a mother would protect her only child with her life. So the discourse use the simile of a love of mother. In this mundane world, if a mother has only one child, then mother will be able to give all her full attention to the only child. So loving kindness meditators are able to give full attention not only to those individuals whom they respect, love dearly, but also could give full attention with the full feeling of loving kindness to those individuals whom they neither love nor hate, or whom they hate. Then they will be successful in the practice of loving kindness. So in the systematic way of the practice of loving kindness, we usually begins the practice loving kindness with the different individuals. I'm sure that in your life, you come to associate with different individuals. They are individuals whom you respect. They are individuals whom you love dearly. They are individuals that you are indifferent to them. The meaning of indifference is such that the welfare, you do not show any concern to the welfare, happiness, or suffering of that individuals. Then in your life, either at work or at other places, you may have this strong feeling of dislike. As soon as you see a person or you hear the voice of that person. For example, sometimes there's a person coming to join your group or to join your trips, or to going to somewhere. Then there's a feeling of dislike when this person coming to join the groups. Your feeling is such that you reluctant to go anymore because this person has joined the groups. Then in your life, you might have met those individuals who are very unfriendly to you, showing a lot of hostility towards you. So when the practice of loving kindness is not successful, meditators might not be able to practice loving kindness towards a person whom they dislike or hate. That's why to be able to practice boundless loving kindness towards all beings, meditators should begin the practice of loving kindness with the different individuals. So the commentary explains about boundless loving kindness. In the words, if a meditator is new to the practice of loving kindness, or as long as one is not successful in the practice of loving kindness, then one has to choose a good object of loving kindness. One may have to avoid certain individuals at the beginning of practice. But when one is making progress in the practice of loving kindness, then one shall be able to expand the feeling or to extend the feeling of loving kindness towards other individuals. So the commentaries groups different individuals into four categories. The first group of individuals is respected person. Any person or individuals whom you respect. The second category of individuals is those individuals whom you love dearly. And the third category of individuals are those whom you have the feeling of indifference. It is also known as those individuals whom you neither love nor hate, or neither like nor dislike. Then the fourth category of individuals consists of antipathetic person and hostile person. Antipathetic persons are those individuals whom you dislike. You have strong feeling of dislike as soon as you see this person, or as soon as you hear the voice of this person, there's a feeling of dislike or hatred arising instantly. Then hostile persons are those individuals who are very unfriendly. We might have this experience at, for example, in the office. You may have some colleagues who are very unfriendly or showing a lot of hostility to you. They never give any cooperations to your work and so on. Or those who like to create a lot of troubles for you. So if a loving kindness meditators has not successful practice, if he or she has to begin, for example, with an antipathetic person as the object of loving kindness, then meditators then may not able to arouse the thoughts of loving kindness. The feeling could be reluctance to wish this antipathetic person to wish for his welfare, happiness. So if loving kindness meditators find that when he or she has chosen a person as an object of kindness, then the meditator realized that there's a strong feeling of reluctance or feeling of dislike to direct the thoughts of loving kindness to this person. Then meditators can change the object of loving kindness. Similarly, if a loving kindness meditators has not successful in the practice, if he or she begins the practice loving kindness with a hostile person, as soon as the meditator thinks of that hostile person, the feeling of anger or aversion could be arising. The meditator could not generate any thoughts of loving kindness at all. So the meditators have to change to another good object loving kindness. So meditator, loving kindness meditators, especially those who are new to the practice, we have to begin the practice with a good object loving kindness. So the meaning of good object loving kindness means those objects enable the meditators to generate the thoughts of loving kindness. The meditators are able to wish or to reflect on the welfare and happiness of that object by wishing him or her, may so be well, happy, peaceful, may so be healthy always. Then the next object is the indifferent ones. It is also known as neither like nor dislike in the commentaries. So it's also difficult to regard such individuals like a dearly loved friends or a dearly loved one. It's because meditators never show concern or take interest in the welfare and happiness of such indifferent one. Though you may know him or her, but the feeling towards that person is indifference or in other words, neutral feelings. So the object of loving kindness, we can the object of loving kindness for the person, a respected person or dearly loved one, enable meditators to generate the thoughts of loving kindness, to cultivate thoughts of loving kindness. So if we explain from the point of view of cause and effect, the object outside you, the object must be a living being, either a person or a group of people or beings staying at certain locations or all beings. So this object are the cause. It's because you have this object, you think of their welfare and happiness, then the effect is such that you are able to cultivate the thoughts of loving kindness. So at the beginning of the practice, various thoughts of loving kindness will not arise naturally. So meditators have to make an effort to wish them, or to wish an object. For example, may my parents be well, happy, peaceful. May my parents be healthy always. So it's because there's this object, you are able to cultivate the thoughts of loving kindness in your mind. If there's no object, then it's not possible to develop the thoughts of loving kindness. It's not possible, for example, some meditators practice loving kindness by merely saying in the mind, be happy, be happy, be happy, or be healthy, be healthy. It's not possible to cultivate the thoughts of loving kindness without an object. So just now I have mentioned three, we can say two different categories of individuals. An antipathetic person and hostile person are grouped into one category. The next category is indifferent ones, or those individuals whom you neither love nor hate. Then the next category is those individuals whom you love dearly. You might even have some form of attachments or some degree of possessive love towards those individuals. In accordance with the teaching, dearly loved one is not a good object of loving kindness for certain loving kindness meditators. When you love someone dearly, you might have some feeling of attachment or even to feeling of clinging. So if that person whom you love dearly is not well, for example, the dearly loved one is sick or various very serious, or even the life is threatening by that illness. So if a loving kindness meditators who is not yet successful at practice, or his thoughts of loving kindness or her thoughts of loving kindness is not well developed, then if at that time the meditators take this dearly loved one as an object, it can cause a feeling of sadness or sorrow. If that dearly loved one is not well, so the dearly loved one is not a good object of loving kindness to certain loving kindness meditators. When we practice loving kindness, we should experience feeling of loving kindness in the mind. We should experience calmness, peacefulness on the mind, or coolness in the mind. But if the object causes sadness, sorrow to arise, then there's no more peacefulness, there's no more coolness in the mind. So when the commentary explains the systematic way of practicing loving kindness, in order to remove the boundaries, in order to be able to practice boundless loving kindness towards all beings, meditators have to begin with a good object. ideally and individuals. It's because by practicing loving kindness to an individuals, you may able to train yourself to focus all your attention on that in the individuals. Um, so when loving kindness meditators are not yet successful in the practice, then they practice loving kindness with a limit of with boundaries. In other words, there's a barriers between the loving kindness meditators and certain individuals, such as those individuals whom they dislike or hate, or those who are unfriendly. So when meditators aspire to remove these barriers or boundaries, this boundary is not a physical boundary. So the boundaries is your mind. The barriers is in your mind. There's a boundaries in your practice loving kindness because there's enemy in your mind. This enemy, especially dosa. So the commentary explained that beginners in the practice of loving kindness should begin with a respected person. The respected person can be your Dhamma teachers, your meditation teachers, or your good friends who is endowed with good moral conducts, or someone whom you have the feeling of gratitude. So ideally, loving kindness meditators begin with a respected person. For example, loving kindness meditators begin the sitting meditation by practicing loving kindness for themselves about 5 minutes. Then meditators have to choose a respected person. So meditators may choose, for example, a Dhamma teacher or meditation teachers or good friends. First of all, meditators reflect or recollect the virtues, of the Dhamma teachers, or the virtues of the good friends. For example, one recollects that the Dhamma teacher whom the meditators respect, the Dhamma teacher is endowed with good moral conducts, observing the moral precepts, or if the Dhamma teacher is a monk, or he observes the monastic code diligently. The Dhamma teacher is endowed with wisdoms and good knowledge of Dhamma. At the same time, meditators recollects his encouraging words, or words that is inspiring. So sometimes meditators, in the course of learning and practicing the Dhamma. They may be inspired by the Dhamma teachers, meditation teachers, or wise friends, and so on. It's because of their inspiration work, it's because of their inspiring words or their inspiring virtuous conduct that arouse your confidence to follow the teaching of Buddha, to learn and practice the Dhamma, and so on. So because of these recollections, there's a feeling of greatness. There's feeling arising of the feeling of greatness, and the intention that you wish to see that the Dhamma teachers whom I respect will live long, healthy, able to expound the teaching of Buddha for a long time, so that the Buddha Sasana will last long. But meditators should not spend too much time of recollections. Meditators may spend maybe 5 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes to recollect the virtues of the respected one. After, so the purpose of such recollections, recollections of the virtues of the respected one, the encouraging words of the respected one, and so on, is to help the meditators, especially the beginners, to generate the thoughts of loving kindness. So then, after the recollections of the virtues of the respected one, meditators begins to direct the thoughts of loving kindness towards the respected one. If meditators respected a few individuals, then they may choose one of them. May so and so, or may my Dhamma teacher so and so be well, happy, peaceful. May my Dhamma teacher so and so be healthy always. So meditators reflecting on the welfare and happiness of respected teacher or the Dhamma teacher by wishing him constantly and consciously. May my Dhamma teachers be well, happy, peaceful. May my Dhamma teachers be healthy always, as long as possible. If meditators feel that, or based on their personal experience, they could not practice loving kindness to an object for half an hour or 1 hour and so on, then they may practice loving kindness to a respected one for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then they may change to another respected person, for example, another Dhamma teachers or meditation teachers or another respected friends, and so on. So in a systematic way of the practice, loving kindness meditators may sit for 1 hour. So sometimes they may have to choose 3 or 4 objects of loving kindness. First of all, meditators practice loving kindness for themselves for duration of 5 minutes. Then they may choose 3 or 4 respected one So meditators may practice loving kindness to every respected person for duration of 10 to 15 minutes. Then they will change to the next respected one. So meditators may have to practice loving kindness to the same objects again and again. So if meditators aspire to be successful in practice and able to make use of the benefits of the practice loving kindness as a support to the practice vipassana meditation. So sometimes they have to practice loving kindness to the same object again and again. For example, you do have time to practice loving kindness at home, even for 1 or 2 hours, you may practice loving kindness to the same object again and again, or day by day. When there's a progress in the practice of loving kindness, then meditators will be able to practice loving kindness towards the respected one for a longer and longer period of time. For example, meditators are able to practice loving kindness to one respected one instead of the usual 10 to 15 minutes. When there's a progress in practice, meditators shall be able to practice the respected one for a durations of 25 minutes or half an hour. So in this way, when meditators are able to practice loving kindness to a respected one for a longer period of time, then they may have to reduce the object loving kindness in an hour of sitting. Assuming that you only have 1 hour to practice loving kindness. So when meditators make more and more progress, they can even practice loving kindness for one object for the whole duration of sitting, or 1 hour sitting. So in other words, when meditators are able to practice loving kindness for an object for longer and longer period of times, by right, the thoughts of loving kindness will be getting stronger, firmer, stable. But if meditators who do not have much experience in the practice and they make an effort to practice loving kindness to one object for a duration of 1 hour, they may not be able to practice well. The mind may become more restless as they sit longer and longer. So in that way, loving kindness meditators are able to develop the equal feelings of loving kindness to a few respected individuals. Then they only consider the second group of individuals or the second category. There's those individuals whom you love dearly. So this is a systematic way of the practice. Similarly, loving kindness meditators have to choose a few individuals whom they love dearly and able to practice loving kindness equally well to every dearly loved one. And there's no difference of the feeling of loving kindness between the dearly loved one and the respected one. Then meditators move on to third group, and so on. So meditators aspire to make progress in the practice loving kindness. They may have to cultivate the thoughts of loving kindness in a systematic way. But those who do not have much time to practice loving kindness, then they may practice loving kindness to any objects whom they like, or sometimes they would like to overcome the feeling of a hostility of someone towards them. So when meditators are not practicing loving kindness intensively, then they may concentrate their practice on the developments of the loving kindness as well as its progress. In other words, when you practice loving kindness at home, you may begin with yourself. Then you may practice loving kindness to your parents, then to your family members and children, and so on. Then you may even attempt or make an attempt to practice loving kindness to those persons whom you dislike, the antipathetic person, or to the hostile person, those who are very unfriendly to you or not friendly to you. So when you are practicing loving kindness to an antipathetic person or to a hostile person, then you realize that there's a feeling of anger, aversion, dislike arising. And you could not overcome this feeling of anger, aversion, dislike by your practice of loving kindness towards the such person, the antipathetic person or hostile person, then you may change to a good object of loving kindness again. For example, your parents or your children, and so on. When we practice meditation, such as loving kindness meditation, we want to purify the mind. We do not want the mind to be defiled. This is explained in the previous talk about bhavana. But as long as meditators are not successful in the practice, the mind can be defiled by anger or feeling of called enmity. So meditators could not overcome the feeling of anger or feeling of enmity, then they should change the object of loving kindness. So when we practice loving kindness, as mentioned previously, meditators might encounter two kinds of enemy. Enemy, in other words, is an obstacles, obstructs the progress of the practice. That's why they are known as enemies. So these two kinds of enemies are not found outside you. Although the external enemy, for example, the antipathetic person or a hostile person can become a cause of the arising of your anger, hatred in your mind. But if we have rightly understood the teachings of Buddha, the enemy, there's all kinds of defilements found in your mind. So we should remove or overcome our inner enemy, which is more danger, more danger than the external enemies. It's because our own inner enemies, we might commit evils, and this evil is a cause of suffering, reborn in the state of loss. Dosa is the distant enemy of metta. It's known as distant enemy because it's not too difficult to discover or to realize the distant enemy. When there's a feeling of dosa, for example, anger, there's no more feeling of loving kindness. With the arising of the thoughts of loving kindness, anger would have disappeared. But as long as meditators have not yet successfully practiced, the anger may not disappear instantly with the arising of the thoughts of loving kindness. But those loving kindness meditators who are successful in the practice, or if they are quite experienced, have gained a lot of experiences in the practice of loving kindness, if there's a slight feeling or little bit feeling of anger, as soon as meditators arouse the thoughts of loving kindness, the arising of thought of loving kindness, the thoughts of loving kindness, that feeling of anger will disappear instantly. If we look from the angles of the teaching of Abhidhamma, when the previous thoughts or previous mental state had passed away, then the pleasant one can arise. So distant enemy is dosa, but the near enemy is known as pema or raga. It is more difficult to discover the feeling of attachments or possessive love. So there are two kinds of pema. One is known as called tanha pema. The example of tanha pema is between love or affection between husband and wife, man and woman. So there are few Dhammapada verses about affection. So I shall quote one of the Dhammapada verses. From attachment springs grief. It's because attachment give rise to grief. So from attachment springs fear. So when there's attachments, there's a fear of separation or losing him or her. For him who is wholly free from attachment, there is no grief, so no fear. Um, so metta is a very pure, sublime state of the mind. It's not uh, attachments. So tanha pema, love with attachments, strong affection, is a near enemy to the metta. The other enemy is known as the geha sita pema. In other words, we are talking about the near enemy of metta is pema, attachments, love with affections. So just now I mentioned tanha pema, is love between men and women, or husband and wife, which is caused by craving, clinging, possessive love, and so on. Then the other is geha sita pema. Geha sita pema can arise when a group of people are staying together under the same roof for a long time. So they begin to love the companions of each others. So geha sita pema refers to the love between the parents and children, or among brothers and sisters. So geha sita pema is also an enemy to the practice of metta. So as long as we are not enlightened, we certainly do have some degree of attachments, selfish love, or possessive love towards someone whom we love dearly. So when meditators practice loving kindness to the dearly loved one, they have to be careful so that the feeling of loving kindness will not be defiled by geha sita pema. So if meditators could overcome these enemies, then they will be successful in the practice. So the commentaries say that when the practice of loving kindness is successful, then dosa, or such as anger, aversion, ill will, subside. If there's a failure in the practice, in verse when it's not successful, the practice of loving kindness might produce selfish affections or love with attachment and so on. Just I mentioned about the systematic way of practice. Only when meditators could practice loving kindness equally strong with deep concentration towards every individual in the four categories. I shall repeat. The first category is the respected individuals. The second category, the dearly loved one, dearly loved family members, friends, and so on. The third category are those individuals whom you neither like or dislike, neither love nor hate. There's a feeling of indifference or neutral, to the happiness or suffering of those individuals. And the fourth category consists of antipathetic person. In other words, the meditators um, dislike those individuals, and hostile person, those persons or individuals who are very unfriendly to the meditators. In meditators could practice loving kindness equally strong to every individuals in these four categories with deep concentration. Some commentaries say at least meditators could attain excess concentration or neighborhood concentration. In other words, the concentration gained by meditators just before the attainment of the first absorption concentration. So with meditators could practice equally strong loving kindness towards every individual in all the four categories with this concentration. Then meditators may consider to be successful in the practice. But as I emphasize, that meditators do not have much time to practice loving kindness. They also can consider practice loving kindness to the third category and the fourth category. It's because in our daily practice of loving kindness, it's more important to strengthen the feeling of loving kindness or the thoughts of loving kindness. We are not emphasize concentration so much on concentration, but we emphasize a lot on the growth. Growth means the increasing of the thoughts of feeling of loving kindness, so that meditators will live in harmony and peacefully with themselves, with others. So in other words, when meditators are able to make progress in loving kindness, they shall be able to experience calmness, peacefulness of the mind. So the growth in the thoughts of loving kindness or feeling of loving kindness is much more emphasized in the daily practice rather than merely concentration. So I wish meditators could rightly understand the practice of loving kindness is to overcome dosa and eventually able to develop boundless loving kindness to all beings in all directions. So ideally, only when meditators could remove the boundaries, able to see every individual in all the four categories as a lovable person, then ideally they begin to practice loving kindness in all the 10 directions. So I wish all meditators would put forth effort to overcome these defilements, which is also an hindrance and obstacles or obstructions to the wisdoms and enlightenments, so that you could achieve the final goal in following the teachings of Buddha eventually.
We all can say sadhu together. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Vidang Vishen. Dhammam Vishen. Sangham Vishen. Before ending these morning sections, I would like to remind you about this evening sections that when we have Q&A. So for this evening sections, please submit your questions under Metta Workshop WhatsApp group strictly between 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Thailand time and then 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Malaysian or Singapore time. And if you do not have WhatsApp, please kindly email your questions to, as said on the screen, behsla@gmail.com. And please ask questions pertinent to the practice of Metta meditation. And every participant is limited to one question per Q&A Metta, per Q&A section. And if time allows, then we may ask questions by raise your hand up on the evening sections if we have enough time in the end. So thank you very much. Have a peaceful Metta day. You cannot hear. So next time I speak.